From its very inception, Pokémon has been constant, and not just in gaming, but in all of its forms of media. We get constant games, constant new episodes and movies, and most importantly, constant enjoyment and satisfaction that's been brought to millions throughout the years. Pokémon is truly a juggernaut in whatever medium it takes shape in. And it's very easy to enjoy these multiple mediums at once. They honestly go very well hand in hand. If you watch the show, you're gonna want to play the games. And now, when you're not playing the mainline games, you're able to play the spin-off games. Whether you're going about your day or even sleeping, there's some way for you to be immersed within the world of Pokémon. And now, oh my god. And now, not everyone is going to be shiny hunting when they brush their teeth. I mean, not everyone's that dedicated. Let's be real. And that's completely fine. But the point I'm trying to get at is, regardless of what a fan prefers, there's some way for them to enjoy the world of Pokémon. And it works so well because these mediums are, and for no pun intended, constantly evolving. On the TV side, you have things like the anime changing casts from generation to generation, even getting rid of Ash completely. And that's not to mention the difference in art style that we see from series to series. The card game, and while I'm not too knowledgeable about this side of Pokemon myself, they're always up to something over there. I always enjoy seeing them embrace different art styles, and they collabed with Van Gogh and the spin-offs. I mean, these games take many different forms with varying different styles of gameplay. But now, the mainline games. The games we found on Nintendo systems throughout the years. No, not you guys. But hey, I love you. These games. And they've been, by every meaning of the word, constant. They've also been consistent. Consistently the same. And when I say that, I don't mean to piss on your poppins. But to me, these games have very little differences between them. And I know what you're saying, but the Mega Evolutions, Gigantamaxing, Bedazzling, the complexity of the stories and their themes! And you know what? You're absolutely right. These games do have different identities, with the gimmicks they introduce and the stories they tell. But the core gameplay is largely the same. You walk, you talk, you battle. You walk, you talk, you battle. You walk, you talk, you battle, you walk, you talk, you battle, you walk, you talk. And that has just never done it for me. And that's not me hating on these games. I love Pokemon. I want to like these games. But I buy these games year after year because I love Pokemon, because I want to like them. And I just can't force myself to love these games. From my very first Pokemon game in first grade, even then I knew this felt a little repetitious. And that's not to discredit, like I said, the other aspects of the games. I mean, building a team is fun. Making your Pokemon stronger, watching them grow alongside of you is endearing. But for me, that's never been enough to warrant me fully completing a Pokemon game. Which is why it's even more bizarre what Pokemon game is my favorite. The only Pokemon game I've played the entirety of. The Pokemon game that in my heart I know is the best Pokemon game. I swear I'm onto something. Pokemon Sword is my favorite Pokemon game. And no matter who I say this to, they all give me the same look. A slight eye twitch, before the dry heaving in disgust. Followed up by a, why? And then I say, no, not why, Pokemon Sword. So now, why is Pokemon Sword the best Pokemon game? Is it the story? No. Just God, no. Now, Pokemon Sword doesn't do anything really different than any other mainline Pokemon game. Except for the wild area, but come on, that doesn't count, guys. But Sword doesn't really deviate from the formula as the other mainline Pokemon games of walking and talking and battling. But I had played Pokemon Sword at a time in my life that I look back on very fondly. The interactions and experiences, the memories I made with Pokemon Sword are why I hold it so close to my heart. The Pokédex is my favorite in years, and it created some very solid designs. The music, I honestly also really enjoy. From the chanting crowd theme that makes battles feel like people are actually watching and chanting you on, to that one track that they got the dude who made Undertale. Wasn't that fucking cool? They got fucking Toby Fox. But okay, before I drag on with this, I want you to notice the use of my and I. Is Pokemon Sword my favorite Pokemon game? Yeah. Do I think it's the best Pokemon game? No, of course not. But the title of this video, what's the best Pokemon game then? Hear me out now. What if I said we are the best Pokemon game? I promise it'll make sense. I don't truly think there is a best Pokemon game. And this is a very evident fact, because no one can agree on which Pokemon game is the best. People swear it's Heart Gold, Soul Silver because of the following mechanic. Some will say it's Black and White because of the story. Others may say it's X and Y due to its transition into a more proper 3D. My girlfriend says Sun and Moon, and to that I just say bless your little heart. Jokes aside, regardless of reasoning, I firmly believe that gameplay-wise, these games have very little deviation from one another. Gimmicks aside, they're largely the same. And I've always felt that someone's favorite Pokemon game, much like of the reasoning why Sword is my favorite, isn't dependent on the game, but it's dependent on your experience and the memories you have surrounding said game. I had come to this conclusion when, after asking everyone around me their favorite Pokemon game, it always ended up being a game they played as a child, or of a game that they themselves say remind them of a simpler time. And I know why this is. It's because, up until recently, that's intentionally how these games were made. They didn't need to be revolutionary, they just needed to be introductory to the world of Pokemon. Each and every one of these games are great because of the memories they're able to embed within ourselves. So next, I need you to ask yourself, what's going to happen when the games intentionally begin to revolutionize the way that Pokemon is played? We're starting to see Pokemon change the way in which its core formula of the games function, which, about fucking time, because the formula not changing made sense when the games looked like this. But when they had begun this transition into 3D, I feel that's where the formula began to show its age. It's where the formula began to feel bland and repetitive and burnt. And it did not help that the newer 3D graphics looked worse than the sprites ever did. And while Arceus and Gen 9 still suffer from poor graphics and poor optimization, it's inignorable the immense shift in gameplay that's being done. Arceus has my respect with how it modernized Pokemon. Roles, bosses, new battle mechanics, and while Scarlet and Violet run the worst I've seen any video game perform since Sonic 06, I can't deny that the open world, the online co-op, and the surprisingly captivating story are taking this series into the direction that people have been asking to for years. The only thing working against it is time. When the games were sprite-based, it was easy to complete development without any time constraints I could imagine. But the more technologically advanced Pokemon became, the more it seemed to really suffer by having this short dev cycle. And why I split off onto this tangent of how these newer games have good concepts but poor execution is because this era of Pokemon we all grew up with, where the formula was largely the same from game to game, is over. Pokemon mainline games are finally becoming more ambitious in scale and scope. If given enough time in the oven, these next few years of Pokemon may make each generation feel like a truly different experience than the last game. I mean, from this point onward, there may be a true best Pokemon game due to the variety in how these future games will play, and especially when compared to one another. But for us, these games may just forever be our most favorite Pokemon games. Just real quick, I just wanted to add that the ideas presented in this video aren't the law. They're purely just my opinions and the thoughts of the matter. And I'm eager to hear your own opinions on the matter, regardless of whether or not you truly agree or not. But more importantly than anything, thank you for watching.